Okay, so this is the review video for week 4. Last night in class we changed the color on the trains in the Durango train. We made some alterations to the sky on the farm, and then we kind of looked at more dimension stuff and using guides and rulers and what might the process be in creating the quilt. So those are the things we're going to look at right now. Here I have the train image that we used, and you remember when we used the replace color, you could replace the color in the whole picture, but we wanted to change each train's color. So by selecting each train, when we used the color replace tool, it only replaced the color in the area that was selected. So I went ahead here and put some marching ants around the train, and then to get to the replace color, it was the image, adjustments, and replace color. So remember, this menu, we're going to spend a lot of time in here, not only this menu, but the adjustments panel over here. So what we did last night, though, was we went to replace color, and when you do that, you get a preview here, and remember there's the add to and subtract to, and then the fuzziness is very similar to the tolerance. So I'm going to go ahead and click in one of the areas here, and you'll see that it's selecting this color. I can add to that by selecting the add to color and select some other areas of this, and if I increase the fuzziness, it picks up more of those colors. And then to replace this color, so here's the original, we come down here into the replacement area at the bottom of this panel, and we can select a blue or some color. And if we're on the add to the color, we can continue to click in this area if there's places that were not selected before. So by selecting, using the magic wand or lasso tool or whatever to select one of the trains, you limit the area that is going to be changed in color. So that's how we changed the colors of the trains. Then we looked at the farmhouse and we cropped it, and we looked at how to crop it and why we would crop it in different ways. I'm not going to go through that again because we're going to crop something else here in a minute. But what we did with this was just one simple enhancement, and if you'll remember, one of the ways we did it was just using the brightness and contrast, which we'd done before. So we pumped up the contrast so there was a higher contrast between the whites and the darks, and then we lowered the brightness so that it looked a little more ominous or threatening. So that was one way we did it. But then what we spent more time on was using these adjustment layers because they're non-destructive. So if I remember correctly, we used the exposure, or excuse me, the which one did we use here? Yeah, it was the exposure. So you'll notice down here in the lower right, it creates a mask because I had the sky selected. So the white in the thumbnail here is what is selected, and the dark area is what's masked. So I think what we did was we pumped up the exposure a little bit and then pulled down the offset just a hair. Let's see. Yeah, something like that, I think. I mean, I don't remember the numbers that we found that seemed to work best for us. But what this allowed us to do was toggle back and forth between the visibility, not only on the layer, and we'll get more into this because we're going to use a lot of these different adjustments. So you can leave it there, or you can just go back to those original presets here, preset options. And if you're unhappy with this, you can leave it there, or you can adjust it further, or turn it off, or trash it. So those were the options we looked at in the adjustments panel over here. And again, we're going to spend a lot of time in these adjustments areas and in these guys right here. So But that was a quick introduction to it last night, just to create a little more contrast in this particular picture. So the next thing we did was we created our quilt, and I'm kind of jumped ahead here a little bit. I cropped this tulip, and remember, when you use the crop tool here, you need to put in size and inches how large it was, and we used 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches at 300. So when I cropped this, I knew exactly how big it was. So I'm not going to do that again because this is already done. But then what we did was and after talking about how to do this, and there were many ways, one of the ways we thought we could do this was to create individual 2.5 inch pieces and then place them on the 5 by 5 image rather than using all the layers on one single image. So last night what we did was we moved this over here and we changed it a little bit to fit our needs. I think I used the filter, and I don't even remember which one it was. Let's see. So when you select one, you get the gallery here. And let's see, let me make this fit in this window so you can see this. So I think I used the ink outlines or glowing edges is what I used. So I'm going to go ahead and use glowing edges again and click OK. So here was one of my tulips that I had changed. And then the first thing we did was we made that 5 by 5 image. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new 5 by 5 image. And remember, you can give it a name when you create it up here, or you can save it. That was one of the questions. So here is my 5 by 5 image, and I can drag this one out of that tulip panel because they were grouped together. So now I have 3, or you can go to float all in windows if they're connected like that, or you can drag them off. But here's my 5 by 5, and then we learned about the guides, which if you click and hold somewhere in the rulers, you can create some guides here so you can show you where you're at. And also you can show the grids up here, which we had used before. So once I had my 5 by 5, and you'll notice that as I drag this around, things get lighter, and then you get a blue outline around the tulip there. That's going to connect those two images in the same pane and make them tabbed. What I want to do is I want to take this tulip, and using the move tool, I'm going to drag them over here to the 5 by 5 image. So that was one of the things we did. And then we started working on some of these layers, because now we have 2. So I think I'm going to create that other layer that was the opposite of this tulip, and we did that by selecting that tulip, the darker one, and going to Image, Adjustments, and Invert. So it's going to invert the colors. So now all the darks are whites, or the blacks are whites, and everything is just the opposite. So I'm going to drag this one using the Move tool over to this picture. And then we just use the Free Transform tool to flip that layer around. You could also, if I could remember which one it is, the flip vertically or horizontally, I can't remember which the one in this case would work. But anyway, so now we have these two pictures in opposition of one another. And then somebody had asked how we had filled one of these squares, and I just used the selection, or the marquee, and filled it. So, but when I did that, I did it on a different layer, so I'm going to create a new layer here. I'm going to use the marquee tool, and I am going to select this area here, and I'm going to go to Edit and Fill. So by default, it's going to be on the foreground color. you can select the background color, which in this case is white, or you can go to color and you can pick your own. And somebody had thought purple would be good, so I'm going to use that color and fill it with purple. You can do that same exact thing on this side, but remember to do it on a new layer. And I think that yellow was what we had decided last night would work. So I'm going to pick a yellowish color here. And click OK. So now we have these two opposite colors. Now, what we do also know is that we could then put like a stroke around here as a frame. So Control D to deselect that. I'm going to go ahead and on a new layer here yet again, on top of this yellow layer, I'm going to go ahead and just put a stroke around this so I can control it, and if I don't like it I can make it go away. And maybe here what we'll do is we'll use this purple, so I can use my little, when you're in this dialog box to pick a color, you can move out over your image and pick a color. So I'm going to pick this purple color, and 15 pixels, probably a little too big. I'm going to go with 10. Control D, so now I have the stroke around this one. And then I think I'm going to do the same thing up here, and I'm not measuring very well. But I'm going to put a stroke here, and I'm going to go ahead and put this yellow around that stroke. So select the color, come pick this yellow, click OK and OK. It's going to be defaulted to 10 pixels because that's what I did last time. Now we could go in here and put a picture in here, or not, but that's basically what I'm looking for, is this kind of quilt pattern with you can choose your own images this week and create this however you'd like it. But make a few of them. That's what I vote. And that's what we did last night in class. I will see you next week.